Good afternoon. My name is Susan Bauckham, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the first collaborated joint endorsement interviews for the endorsements of Veterans in Politics International, Nevada Democratic Veterans Military Families Caucus, Nevada Veterans Association, and the Armed Forces Chamber PAC. I'd like to also thank our sponsors today, Monzu Italian Oven and Bar, for providing the facility for us, Stephanie Phillips, candidate for United States Senate, and the anonymous donation on behalf of Jerry Willick. I'd like to thank all the candidates that are here today. We have Judge Joe Sciscento and Ava Bravo running for the Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Township Department 2. The panel members are going to introduce themselves to each other and to you and to our live audience that is with us and also being live streamed today. Remember, candidates, this is an interview, not a debate. Everybody will have about a minute to answer each question. We're going to introduce the panel members now, and Jim is going to tell you about how the time works. And then after all of the panel members have introduced themselves, you guys will get about a minute and a half to introduce yourself, who you are, why you're running, and then we'll start with the questions. Thank you.
First off, thank you, candidates, for coming. I am the timekeeper. So when there's 15 seconds left, you'll get the yellow card. When it's time to finish, I'll cut you off at the red card. My name is Jim Jonas, Director of Veterans of Politics.
Thank you for coming. Andre Haynes, Founder and CEO of the Armed Forces Chamber.
Patsy Brown, President of the Armed Forces Chamber.
Kelly Charles, Executive Board from Democratic Military Veterans and Family Caucus.
Rob Lauer, Veterans of Politics.
Frank Friends, Veterans of Politics.
Tara Kellogg, I'm with the Democratic Party.
Barbara Leuschen, representing Veterans in Politics today.
Ava, we'll go ahead and start with you if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Ava Natalia Bravo. I am a special public defender here in Clark County. I came from California. Although I'm a transplant, I like to say that I've been here in this community for more than 20 years. My husband has lived here and has had a business here. We had a long-distance relationship that was successful, unlike others. While I was in California, I was a career prosecutor. I was a prosecutor for about 27 years. I specialized in special victims cases, anywhere from child molest, serial rapists. Prior to that, I was a probation officer. I worked the streets with the police departments in Santa Ana. I was part of a gang suppression unit. I was post-certified to carry a weapon. I'm a child of immigrants. My parents are from Argentina, and I learned English in the school system, so I feel like I can relate to a lot of people who are currently in our community. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hi, my name is Joseph Sciscento. I'm currently the judge in Justice Court Department 2. I've been there for almost over 14 years now. I was appointed in 2009 by the Clark County Commissioners. I've served there during that time. Prior to that, I was an attorney here I've been here 33 years as an attorney, practicing. I have seen the changes in the courts. I've seen the implication of the Veterans Court that we had. When I first started, we did not have that. We didn't have a DUI treatment court. We didn't have mental health court. I've seen the changes in that. I'm currently sitting on the Resort Corridor Court, where we're addressing that. Hopefully we're trying to create a mental health court, which is being created right now. We're trying to get funding for that. We're working with the county commissioners on that. So I've been here. I've raised my children here. I've got family here, and I've been here for a while. Thank you.
Jim, if you'd like to go ahead and lead off the questions today for the panel.
Okay, this question's for both of you. In the state of Nevada, last election cycle, less than 5% of registered voters actually voted for judge because it's down ticket. If elected, I would like to know what you guys would do on the bench or out in the community to get more people involved in actually voting for their judges.
So Ava, you'll start, and then Judge Sciscento will be second, okay?
I have found that this is a problem historically that people don't vote down ticket. And I think it's incumbent on the judicial bench to be able to reach out to the community, to invite them into the courtroom, to go door to door, to meet their community so they know who they're voting for. I've started doing that now, trying to reach people, not so much in the legal system, but your everyday person out there who needs to know who they're voting for. And I think that it's a detriment to our society when you don't know who's on the bench, you don't know who they are, because that's the first experience someone will have when they enter a system, if they're unfortunate to enter the system. I think outreach, I think education, I think going to the school systems and talking to the students in college, high school, and going to community centers and talking to elderly would be beneficial for our community to get to know the people who are on their bench.
All right, thank you. What we have right now, we have a thing called Project Real, where they're bringing children from 5th grade into the program, into the courtrooms to actually observe what is going on in the courts. We've been doing that for a number of years. They come to my courtroom, we sit and talk to them, bring them into chambers, take them on little tours. We also have mock trials, only sometimes for high school kids, not just law students. They come into courtrooms on Saturdays. I've done that for many years. We have outreach programs that are already doing this, and we're trying to get more involved in that. But you're right, it's very important that people understand that justice court and the court system is important for you to understand. We can vote for president, but we can never really, or people in Congress, but we'll never see them. We are in the community every day. You're dealing with us every day. You get a traffic ticket, you're coming in front of us. You get a parking ticket, you're coming in front of us. And they don't realize how important it is to know who your judges are, how long they've been out here. Thank you.
Commander Haynes.
Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber. This question is for both of you. How will you advocate for and implement policies that enhance the justice system's responsiveness to individuals with mental illness?
As I stated before, we're trying to create a mental health court through justice court. Judge Natalie Woods is trying to work on that. We're trying to work with the county commissioners. Municipal court has one, district court has one. We send them up to competency court. But what we need to do is get together with all of the players involved, including the county commissioners, other people who are involved in counselors and things like that, to get them more involved into mental health courts. Because we're not doing it right now. We get people that come in front of us that have mental problems. I can't release them to the street because they're going to hurt themselves or others. But if I keep them in custody, they're going to get hurt in there. We have no real place to put them. There has been some discussion by the resort corridor people to create a mental health facility. Now, that's a couple years down the line, but we need to go forward on this, and we are moving forward on this. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I think as a bench officer, advocacy isn't really appropriate. I think that as a bench officer, you have the people coming before you. With that being said, I do believe in the programs that are currently being utilized. They were utilized in California as well. I was part of the mental health program as a prosecutor, and I understand the importance. I think it's important for a bench officer to refrain from being an advocate when you're appearing in court. Personally, I think that I would always support those programs and be a part of it if the community brings me into that program in order for me to give an opinion or to help them in whatever it is they're doing. But as far as advocacy from the bench, I don't think that that is something that's in the purview of the judge.
Patsy.
Patsy Brown, Armed Forces Chamber. My question for both of you is, what strategies do you propose to address homelessness within our jurisdiction, and how will you balance public safety concerns with the need for compassionate solutions?
Well, I think compassion is something that's always important from whatever part of the legal system that you're representing. I think homelessness is also a very huge part of what is happening. Homelessness, in my opinion, comes from mental health problems or drug addictions, which I think those two programs would help satisfy that prong of the legal community. Combating homelessness, I think, is something that has been part of our lives forever. It predates my birth and is something that's been a problem. So I feel that if we can get the services to the individuals who are homeless, address the drug problems, and provide the mental health treatment, it would help alleviate some of the homeless problem. I don't think that there's a magic answer to curing homelessness. I think that as a society, it is incumbent on us to help each other as individuals.
We currently have what we call a community court, and I'm working hand in hand with Judge De La Garza and the other judges to try to get the people into that program. What happens is this. It comes in front of the DAs and the public defenders. If there's somebody that the program determines are eligible for it, public defenders make a recommendation for a sentence. Then there is also the opportunity where we give them the opportunity to enter into community court. So we're not telling them, this is what you have to do. There are times that we do order them in there. There are times that we provide them with that opportunity to go into community court. So what we need to do is increase the people that go there. We need more social workers to come and interview them in the jail at that time to determine if they're eligible. Then we also need to attach some penalties if they fail out or do not go forward on the community court. Because we can't just put them on the streets without some restrictions placed up on them. And that's working together with the community and the judges.
Kelly.
Thank you for that. Kelly Lynn, again, Democratic Military Veterans and Family Caucus. So we know that military families, active duty service members, and veterans have unique social, emotional, and academic needs. The service members, their spouses, and their children. So knowing all of that, how would you approach those unique situations in dealing with a military service member or veteran?
We have now in every courtroom have a sign that says, please identify yourself if you're a veteran or a retired veteran or a retired military. You have to tell that to either the public defender or the district attorney so that we're made aware that we have the opportunity to get you into veterans court, which could provide you services. We work hand in hand with the VA. When I'm informed that somebody has got a drug problem and we want to send them to drug counseling, but they tell me that they're a veteran, what we do is say, fine, you contact the VA. You get somebody to contact your attorney and say that you are attending the VA's services, and we can use that in lieu of placing you into custody. We can use that in lieu of putting you into these programs that are not working, because veterans are unique. The problems that they have stem from their service, not just from the fact they're living in society, but what they've been through, what they've seen. And we need people who understand that in helping them, because one size does not fit all, especially when it comes to veterans. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I believe that when there is services provided to veterans that comes in through the system, it is the public defender and the district attorneys that are required to represent that to the judge. That information needs to be brought forward. It's not something that could really be elicited from a bench officer, but upon receiving that information, it goes into the consideration in sentencing. I think that's incumbent on the legal system, meaning the defense and the prosecution, to bring that forward and present those arguments to the court officer. At that point, the court officer will take that into consideration and listen to the arguments, knowing that background that has been represented by either side. I do feel that military individuals are some of the most impacted by what they've observed, and that should go into consideration on how the sentencing or treatment is imposed.
Rob Lauer, Veterans in Politics. This question is specifically for Judge. In May 2017, a defendant named James Beach came before you. He had been arrested for punching and killing a man on Las Vegas Boulevard. His criminal background included a conviction for attempted murder. And yet you gave him a bail of $350,000. Can you describe to the court, to the audience here, why you think that was acceptable? Why you let him free in any way, shape, or form on the street?
I don't recall that case per se, but a bail of $350,000 back in 2017, I think is quite a significant bail. We are under our Constitution, everybody's entitled to a bail on this matter. Now, if it's a murder charge, that's one thing. If the state does not ask for a no bail, they have a right to ask for it. They have a right to present evidence. And if I find the presumption is great, then I can hold them no bail. But I don't know if they were asking for that, and I don't recall the case. And
according to the Review Journal, the prosecutor asked for $1 million in bail.
I don't know. The other problem I've got is I don't know if it's still an active case that is going on and maybe returned. So there's not really much I can say about that. But I can tell you that a $350,000 bail is a significant bail, and I don't think he even posted bail on that matter. And if he did, there was other restrictions placed upon him. But the reality is people are entitled to bail. If they ask for bail, we have to set it according to certain terms. Merely setting it significantly high is not sufficient enough, is not proper, is not the proper procedure. There's a lot of things that we have to take in consideration. A lot of people may not agree that people should be given bail, but that's what the Constitution tells us, and we have to follow that.
Okay, so before we move on to Frank for the next question, I think it's only fair that Ms. Bravo give us her thoughts and views on bail, just to keep it fair for both candidates. And let's try to remember for our panelists that while we do have some specific questions that we want to ask specifically to one candidate on our panel, we need to try to make sure that that question comes across so it can be answered by both. So, Ms. Bravo, your opinions and thoughts on bail.
Thank you for the opportunity, Judge Balcom. I think that as a bench officer, the setting of bail is probably one of the most important facets of keeping our community safe. We do have to balance that with the individual rights and the constitutional restrictions, as well as the schedule that's currently presented before us, as that is what the legislature voted on, and we're required to go by the constitutional restrictions. However, the most important thing would be keeping our community safe and balancing any type of restrictions that can be imposed in order for that person to return to court while keeping that community safe. And unfortunately, somebody's prior history becomes extremely relevant at a point in time that bail is being set. And you have to be able to balance that. Knowing that $1 million is requested by the prosecution is something that is indicative of their assessment of that person's background and should come into consideration at the time that bail is set on the next case.
Right.
Frank Friends, veteran of politics. Now, while you guys might not reside over certain cases like this, I want to know who you are and where you stand on this subject. So if a person is caught on camera killing another person, like the Lee's Discount Liquor shooting we had or the Home Depot shooting we had, they're guilty. They did it. They're on camera. That's them. Are you pro or against the death penalty?
Well, I think that's a personal question, and for me, it would have to be separate and apart my personal beliefs as far as what's before me. If I'm in a jurisdiction where death penalty is acceptable, and as it is in Las Vegas, then it's something that needs to be implemented. I think some of the problems that happen is when bench officers carry their moral beliefs over into the bench, and the reality is that the law is the law in the jurisdiction that you're in, and that's what needs to be imposed. So if the death penalty is something that can be imposed and I'm presiding over it, and it's something that is appropriate for the offense, then that would be what would be imposed. As far as my moral positions, I feel that that's separate and apart and should not come over, and I shouldn't be an activist on the bench. So that would remain separate. I would go with what the legislature has said and what's being asked and what the jury decides.
The law in Nevada is that there is the right they can have a right to ask for death on certain cases that have aggravators, first-degree murder. That's the statute, that's the law, and we have to follow that law. Regardless of how I feel about anything, it's got to be followed. There's procedures that we must ensure, and we have to make sure the most important thing, we can't show our emotions or feelings or beliefs on the bench, because if we do, and we say something, and one judge did this, it was a pro tem, mentioned something about a murder case. Now that's a problem for that case, and it's going to hurt that case for the prosecution because we're subject to review. We're subject to have this appealed. And it is very important that we keep in check our beliefs and our emotions and our thoughts about that, only following the law. In justice court, we don't know if it's going to be a death penalty case. We may be aware of that. 250 does not apply until it comes up to district court. They don't have 2 attorneys on there. But I make sure that the defendant has those rights there to ensure the conviction.
And before we move on, just a reminder to our audience and to those that are listening that the 2 individuals that are interviewing right now are Las Vegas Justice of the Peace candidates. They would not hear a murder case. They would hear it for a probable cause hearing, but they would not be the finder of fact, with or without a jury, to impose the death penalty. It would not be asked for at the justice court level. It would not be asked for until it moved on to the district court. So just for our listeners who are not aware of the current state of affairs, I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you. Tara, the next question.
Hello. My name's Tara Kellogg, and I am with the Democratic Party. My question is, in what ways do you see technology being used to impose access to the courts and the efficiency of court proceedings?
I think that's me first, right? Well, we have seen a lot of changes. When I first started 33 years ago, we didn't have any computers. We barely had fax machines. Now we have access. Everybody comes in. They don't have their files. They're using computers. And it's, first it drives you crazy. You see them using a computer. You're like, what are you doing talking on the phone? You realize their files are in there. Their access to the information is in there. Now, what we have now is we had what we called a Zoom, or we have Zoom now. We had Blue Jeans before. Zoom just started Monday, where we're starting to have access. People who are out of the jurisdiction or are sick or ill, cannot make it, they're able to appear via Zoom. It gives them access. That's a good way to do it, but I prefer also that the attorney has privacy to talk to them. So I make sure that we have an ante-room with a phone and allows them to contact their clients. So if they have to speak to them regarding something, not everybody's listening. So we need to make sure people have access, but they need to be secured.
Thank you. I think technology has both enhanced and kind of diminished our system right now because lots of times there are attorneys that don't come in when their clients are there present and the attorney is appearing by Zoom. I think that degrades our system, and I think one-on-one contact with your client should be mandated, and the attorney should not appear by Zoom, absent extenuating circumstances. The other aspect of it is I feel like the outside public is able to come in and actually view the system, which is extremely necessary so that they understand what's going on. At that same time, I think that our relaxed attitude in the courtroom when it's being broadcast kind of diminishes the legal system as well. I think that there's levity that should probably not take place in a courtroom when the public is watching, because many times it's that individual's first time in a courtroom, and sometimes the banter back and forth between a judge and the bench is offensive to somebody who could be facing murder charges or has a woman who had a child that died, when there's that laughter in the courtroom. So I think there's good and bad that has come from that technology.
Barbara.
Veterans in Politics. Barbara. How would you communicate with parties that are representing themselves? Either one of you.
Okay. I think that you have to be extremely patient with parties that are representing themselves. They are held to a standard. There is a Faretta waiver, so the judge does make sure that they're able to move forward and can realistically represent themselves. Many times the defense is asked to stand by for, comment or be able to advise the person that's representing themselves. But I think what you need is patience and calmness, knowing that that person has taken on an endeavor that's going to impact the rest of their lives. Not always is it the most appropriate decision for that person, but you can't really hold them to a different standard. They have to have the same standard as the attorney, but I think you can show more compassion and patience with somebody who is representing themselves.
Yes, it is difficult for some people who don't know the law to represent themselves. Unfortunately, we can't provide them with any information on how to do it. We can just tell them that this is not a good thing for you to do. Many times I have what we call standby counsel. I ask the public defenders to step in and assist them and provide them with the information. We do try to tell them if it's a serious case, you may want to consider having somebody there. You're entitled to that free of charge. But if they want to represent themselves, you've got to make sure that the district attorney or whoever it is, even if it's a civil matter, that they're not running roughshod over these people. And if there's a problem and you see this, you have to somewhat call them to the bench and let them know those are not proper questions. Now, I'm not supposed to step in, but you know your boundaries and you need to follow that boundary. Because again, the appeal issue is the most important thing. We need to preserve that we have a right procedure, because if it gets appealed, we go back to the beginning again and start all over.
Okay, so we have time for one more question, and so this may irritate some of our panel members, but since Kelly just joined us, I'm going to give the final question to Kelly. Everybody else has been here all morning, so Kelly, last question for this interview panel.
Well, thank you for that. And along the lines of getting to know you both a little bit better, tell us how you have engaged with the military and veteran community.
My father was a Marine. My brother was born at Camp Pendleton in 1961. So I'm used to the Marines. I know his gun, the 30-06. We shot that as a young man. But dealing with the veterans, we do have Veterans Court. We see them all the time. We deal with them, people that way all the time. I have a golf tournament that I've been attending for 15 years, Fighting for Families, where we take veterans who, specifically one veteran who's had some problems, and the amount that we give to them, including with Vista Ford and Farmers Insurance, we provide them with a vehicle, we provide them with food, we provide them with lodging, we provide them with insurance for the cars. We do things like that all the time. Now, I do a lot of things with Catholic Charities. I donate a lot of time there. I've submitted I've done 100 hours of community service with them. So I'm in the community helping the people that need the help. Thank you.
Thank you. My father-in-law was part of the Coast Guard, so I've seen some of the direct results that he's had and how he's been impacted. I've also, as a prosecutor, been active with Veterans Court. I've seen the direct impact on individuals who unfortunately found themselves in the system. Personally, I have taken courses to become a counselor, and I volunteered my time to counsel individuals for free in order to assist them in recuperating. I've also been part of programs that have gone into homeless areas and given out socks for individuals when it's cold. We did that as a program in Los Angeles. I've also been a part of Feed the Homeless and connected with the veterans who are also homeless. But as an individual, I feel that the assistance that we need to provide goes greater when someone has served our country.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. So, Ava, I'm going to let you go up first, since you just put the mic down. A closing statement, brief. Tell us why you're the best candidate for Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Department 2.
You. I think that the most important thing is experience and diversity, and not just in one area. I feel like my background as a probation officer, as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, having served as minors counsel representing children in the foster system, and being a child of immigrant parents, having to learn English in the school system gives me a background that is unique. I've completed over 100 felony jury trials to verdict. I have participated in the system, but more importantly, my experience comes from a well-rounded background, understanding what comes before a court as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, as a court officer, as a probation officer, working hand in hand with law enforcement. and being a child of immigrants gives me a very unique understanding of both the community and the representatives before the court, and I feel that I'd be able to satisfactorily and excellently do the position.
Judge Sciscento.
Thank you. I've been here 33 years. I've been practicing law in Las Vegas. I've seen a lot of changes. Where I'm living right now used to be a dirt lot. It was desert. So we've all seen that. We've seen the changes in the courts. I remember when I first started, we had what we called an 8-day kick-out. Somebody was arrested, no charges filed. They sat in there for 8 days. That has now changed. We never had mental health court. We didn't have DUI court. We've implemented those. I've ran the DUI courts. I've been a criminal defense attorney. I've handled civil matters. I've done probate. I've seen Vegas change. I'm currently on the Resort Corridor Court, which is a new court that we've created. I'm implementing that. I'm working with the people in the Resort Corridor. I'm working with the social workers. So we keep making changes, but we need to know we are Vegas, and this is how Vegas does this. We're Nevada, and that's important. And I've been here for a while, and I understand what Nevada is about.
Okay, once again, I'd like to thank everyone for your time today, to our candidates for coming out on a Saturday, to our interview panel. Everybody's done a great job. This, again, was the first collaborated joint endorsement interviews for endorsements of Veterans in Politics International, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Family Caucus, the Nevada Veterans Association, and the Armed Forces Chamber PAC. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Monzu Italian Oven and Bar, and once again, Stephanie Phillips, candidate for the United States Senate, and again, the anonymous donation on behalf of Jerry Willock. Thank you all for coming back. Thanks.